She and her fiance had came up to my house and banging on the window to get me to come down there.
I was mad because my fiance and I were fighting. I had saved up for the wedding, and I trusted him to the point where it caused so much turmoil in my relationship that is over and done with. This is my hometown. Stuff like this doesn't happen over here.
Plaintiff Sarah McKay claims the defendant destroyed her roof and her relationship. She's suing for $5,000. Defendant Paul Nobile claims he could have finished the job, but the plaintiff wouldn't let him. He says he owes nothing.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. The Honorable Judge Jerry Springer now presiding. Good morning, Judge.
Morning, Najee. How are you?
I'm doing well, Judge. Thank you.
Good.
This is case number 105 on the docket, McKay versus Noble.
Thank you, and
You're
welcome
Judge.
to both of you. The plaintiff, Sarah McKay, and you are suing the defendant, Paul Nobile, excuse me, for $5,000 for not properly fixing the roof of her house. All right, Sarah, so what is your case?
So I purchased my childhood home 8 years ago in New Hampshire. I live in Massachusetts.
Yes.
And it's a really old house. It was constructed in 1890. A few times when I had gone home, Paul had left his business card tucked in the door, under the doorway, and...
So you knew Paul ahead of time?
No, I didn't.
You just knew that this guy was leaving this card underneath your door?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was looking to have it remodeled. I had purchased some roofing material 3 years ago, and some stuff happened, just life, and I never had it installed. So it's been there, it's been covered, everything that was needed to install a new roof on the house. Now the kicker is the roof was never leaking. It was completely old, and it needed just aesthetically to be more pleasing, because I wanted to be up there more than just a seasonal home, and I was planning on eventually moving to New Hampshire.
The home is 130 years old, and you wanted the roof fixed to look, you said aesthetically, to look nicer.
Right.
Okay.
And it was old, so I figured that I could start there.
In your statement, you state that Paul said he could do the roof for $2,000 and it would take 3 days.
Yes.
Tell me about that discussion. What did the $2,000 include?
So I gave him a $500 cash deposit and post-dated a check for $1,500. He would be able to get everything done within 3 days.
He said 3 days and just $2,000 for a roof on a house that's 130 years old.
Right.
When you fix a roof, you have no idea what's underneath when you take the shingles or whatever's on top of the roof. When you take that off, you have no idea. Just why would you take at face value you could do a roof, because he doesn't know what he's going to find when he takes the top off.
I'm not a professional. You know, I trusted him. Everything that he said was smooth and believable, and I'm not a roofer. And I had the material, so I was like, man, it seems like a good deal.
How much did you end up paying him?
I've paid him $7,500 for labor and over $3,000 in materials.
And why are you bringing the suit?
Because the job hasn't been completed.
Why hasn't it been completed? Did you let him go? Or did he say, I quit?
The roof was leaking inside the house. It was raining inside of the house.
Okay.
So, and he lives up the street, so I was like, okay, this is great. I'll make you a key. You can work on it. I'm 4 hours away. He goes, I'll send you pictures every day and send you copies of receipts, which he never did. He left them on the kitchen table, which is 4 hours away from me.
She was being informed every day and throughout the day while she was working. I took a picture. I said, hey, we just got this done. Look what the damage we just found here. You know, and she's like, wow.
But if a roof isn't finished, there are going to be leaks.
He had told me in text messages prior to this, it's watertight, there will be no leaks.
All right, let me hear your side of the case.
Yes, Judge Jerry. The house is a small little salt box house. It's had prior damage inside from weather, not to our doings, but before I ever got involved. So during the process, when she talked to me, you know, that a prior contractor had been there before. One side had fairly new shingle, had asphalt shingle with good plywood under it. The fascia boards were in dismay. I mean, they were rotted. Your Honor, may I approach that monitor?
Yeah.
This is right outside the dormer that's above in front of the house. This is a big hole of rot that was already exposed with hornets and everything else in there. And I've been in pest control for 18 and a half years as well. And we ran across this, we fixed this, and I mentioned to her that the materials she had out in front of the property that had sat exposed to weather 3.5 years, or 3 years, there was metal. Metal is metal. But the wood that was purchased by her cousin, I believe, or a relative, that had been exposed to the weather. It rotted, it was gray, it was not usable, it was dry, and Sarah set up an account at one of our local lumber yards up in town, and I went and purchased the new materials. So basically, this side of the house, there's a front side with a dormer on it. This side of the house had actual galvanized metal over this whole thing. Whoever before, this is old asphalt shingle that's on top of 2 layers of cedar shake. So it's been layered and layered and layered. And during that process, there was all kinds of insulation laid on this, which I have this photo right here. Let me get to that photo real quick. D12 shows more of the rot, and D13 shows more of the rot. And D14 shows how it actually was already exposed into the interior of the house. So this was not known until after that galvanized metal side was exposed. It had to be dismantled. That's considered in our trade as a demo work. And then basically after realizing all that was removed, on D18 and D19, all new rafter boards had to be sistered to old rotting ones that weren't there.
I understand.
Okay.
Here's my question to you.
Yes, sir.
Because you can never expect the purchaser to be an expert in this, and you do know the experience. I, as a consumer, am having had a roof fixed on our house. There is no way that you should have been involved in a conversation that says $2,000.
Your Honor,
because
correct.
The first thing you should say, regardless of that, you know, you can pay me for looking up at the top of the roof, and I'll come back and then give you an estimate of what this is probably going to cost. Because the construction industry knows full well that it becomes more expensive than you originally thought.
Correct.
That we know.
Correct.
But the over expense could be 10%, 20%. But this is like from the initial charge about 500% greater. So of course she's going to be upset.
Basically, as I was standing out in front of the house with her and her fiance, seeing the one side of the house, knowing that was a straightforward strap the house, get it prepped and ready for metal. The other side, it was galvanized side. I said, depending on what's involved on the other side, if it's a straightforward strapping over what's underneath that metal, I had no knowledge of that. I guesstimated to finish the job within 3 days with 3 of my workers, we would have had it done if there was no demo or repair work. And this job, Your Honor, was billed by the hour for labor work and for demo work. Sarah did order a dumpster that was delivered. Yes, she did purchase a tarp. We were dealing with 100-degree temperature out there, and we live at the bottom of the Mount Washington, which throws in severe weather within minutes. And it came down. We've had lightning storms. I was having guys jump off the roof. And yes, it went longer than expected. And I did send her pictures every day of the metal coming off, the stuff on the roof, the next layers, the damage, and all I was getting was, wow. And then I showed her the repair. That's great. Looks awesome. And when the leak started, it was because we were into major storm season. It was pouring rain. She and her fiance had come up. He came up to my house and banging on the window to get me to come down there. The problem was you had new plywood meeting up at the peak with a pre-existing roof. That needed a ridge cap put over the top of that. During this process, she was upset. She was already having issues with her fiance. She took me upstairs, showed me the water coming in. I said, let me get on the roof and put the cap on. No, I think we're done here. And that's what that was stated to me.
It was lightning. It was a
Okay.
torrential storm.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
And I offered to do that,
Yeah,
though.
but he goes, but I need somebody to help me because I can't get the tarp because it's too heavy in the middle of a lightning storm. Why would I have somebody else on my roof that already did damage to it in the middle of a lightning storm to where I could be responsible if something happened on a slippery metal roof?
And also, Your Honor, I left that house. That house was completely picked up. I always leave a job completely picked up. And I received a text from her fiance asking me, is this how you leave a job? When I found 2 pieces of metal that he showed me, laid out in the yard, laid over here. I said, you might want to talk to your neighbor across the street because that's not how it was when I left.
On June 24th, I drove to New Hampshire, 4 hours away, with $3,600 that I gave him. And the next 2 days, the job was supposed to be done. So he even got paid for the job to be completed without completing it, without putting the ridge cap on, which I was mad because after 30 days, now I need this drip edge, which everything was out there. Like he said, it was out there, but you didn't look at it. I asked you over and over, do you have enough materials? Is everything right? Yeah. Well, then why are you going to the lumber store every day?
Why did you go to the lumber store
Okay,
every
Your
day?
Honor, the lumber store is probably 20 minutes from the house down the road. When we went there, I was
That
going...
I'm getting paid for, that I'm getting charged for. I'm out $10,000 because you
But she's
are
claiming she's out
unprofessional.
$10,000, Your Honor, when truthfully, all the money she's paid gone toward the demo labor, which was expected more after we exposed the damage.
You never told me that. Every time that Paul said that he needed money, it was at the last minute of the day, go to Walmart, this stuff. And like I told him, I said, you know, I sent him $2,000 for a Walmart check. Then, you know, he said, well, now I have this, I need $1,192 plus another $2,395, whatever, equaling up to almost $3,600. And I said, look, you know, nobody really has that money just available. You're trying to tell me that you have to pay your workers and stuff. And in good faith, I'm coming up 4 hours to give you the cash for the deal. I was like, my fiance and I were fighting. I had saved up for a wedding dress. I had saved up for the wedding itself.
Yeah.
Your Honor,
Okay, take it.
Your Honor.
Don't interrupt. Let her
I'm
finish
sorry.
and take your time.
You know,
Yeah,
he
that's
was really unprofessional, and I'm like, this is my hometown. This is New Hampshire. Stuff like this doesn't happen over here. People are better, and it's just, you know, somebody that lives up the road, and I trusted him to the point where I couldn't deal with either of them. And I was like, look, I don't think this is a good relationship. Would you be willing to reimburse me? And he said yes.
What were you willing to reimburse her?
For any materials that her fiance kept trying to say that was damaged, and there was no damage. There was wood that was old wood from a cousin that brought it. There was metal.
That wood was never included in the materials.
He tried to claim that the metal still on the ground that needed to go on the roof got scratched.
It was.
That metal has been laying out in that yard for over 3
All right.
years.
Covered. It was covered with
here's-
covering material
Your Honor,
and
Judge
strap.
Jerry, material you supplied to me was not
You
there.
purchased it. I
Okay.
have an
only
estimate
way
from another company up there that shows they went up and they took pictures. They had to tarp it. It cost me $736 to have an emergency tarp put on because the ridge cap was never put on.
Exactly.
Because I don't trust him. I don't trust his workmanship.
Okay.
There's
All right.
just too many issues.
This is where
too
the
much
contract basically
fast-talking.
went sour because her and her fiance were having issues over this whole issue. She was already in a...
Because
and
you were
she was-
going behind my back
she was-
talking to
she
him,
was all-
texting him information that he
was
had.
texting-
What did he do?
He was
te-
texting him information because I wasn't going to understand it because I was a girl. So he was communicating
not
with
say
him,
that.
Oh,
sorry.
telling him this kind of stuff so that they were buddy-buddy. And I'm working, and I only work weekends, 7 in the morning to 7:30 at night, and I'm getting, you know, I need a check for $1,600. I'm like, I just can't, I have to wait until during the week where I can come up and give the money. And it caused so much turmoil in my relationship that is over and done with.
Judge Jerry.
Regardless of the money that I had saved for it. And now between the money that I've spent on the repair and what it's going to cost to repair is more than the whole property that I paid for 8 years ago. It's paid for.
You didn't bother to get other bids at the time.
Not at the time, no.
What is the closest thing to a contract that I can find in all this evidence is on June 9th, which you both signed.
Yeah.
It is itemized, the roof demo and installation, new metal repair, and any damage as needed. Customer will provide any cost on materials. Customer will be notified of any changes or repairs. 2-year warranty on roof for leaks. Well, the warranty doesn't take effect until it's
job
done.
complete, right.
Deposit required for $500. She actually put down $1,500, right?
That's correct.
Okay,
Well,
so $1,500 of the original $2,000. And then it says, job will be
$2,600.
okay. Job will be billed per hour. So I understand your dispute and I understand your concern, but one of the issues here, which I guess neither of you could help, is you lived 4 hours away. So a lot of this since as the work is going on, a decision has to be made right then. We're going to need that. Normally, if you lived in the town, you would be there watching, saying, yeah, okay, go ahead and do that. So he'd say, come, I want you to take a look at this. So a lot of this bad communication is simply because you did live
I trusted
far away.
him.
Well, I understand that. She has paid about $10,000, something like that, already to you.
No.
No?
Not $10,000.
$7,500 to him.
She's claiming
and
$7,500.
$3,000.
Okay, I'm sorry, $7,500.
She's priorly purchased material. She's trying to factor all her material in that.
I said $7,500 to you, but he didn't tell me that there was a labor bill. In one of the text messages, he's like, "Oh, I didn't want to ruin your day." He goes, "But you know, with all the work that's already been done,
how much does it take to finish the job?
2 days,
it's going
Your
to
Honor.
cost."
It would take you 2 days.
I was asked how many days it would take to finish that job. If she had gotten the 2 side metals for me and my worker to go up and put that metal on.
But it wasn't done correctly. It wasn't done correctly
and
to
I
put that
mentioned
stuff
it would be
on
a
it.
2 full day, 10-hour, 8 to 10
With
hour
the
day.
ridge cap.
With the capping
and you're
on.
saying you could finish the job in 2 days.
Absolutely,
And for how
Your
much is that?
$650 left to pay.
I
Okay.
already paid for the completion in
She
full.
paid for hourly labor. She did not pay for a quoted job. It states on the list that she signed that this job will be billed hourly.
If we can solve this problem so you're not faced with having to spend another $10,000, $15,000 on getting someone else to fix it, and he is standing here saying for $650 it would happen, then I have to say to you, if I were your best friend, I would say to you, time out. Go and punch a pillow someplace. But you are hurting yourself.
I don't want him on my property. I just don't even want to deal with him because he
Well,
just...
you have to deal with that question then. Because I can't find anything in evidence, and particularly when there's a solution to this. Why am I going to make a decision that is going to cost you money? Even if I gave you every penny that this court is allowed to give you, you would still wind up losing $10,000.
Right.
And I am willing to say, if I dismiss this case, it's only going to cost you $650, and you'll still have the guarantee that the work has to be done to code and everything. It's a warranty. For your benefit and for your benefit, I dismiss the case.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I was scammed by somebody that lives on my street that did a ridiculously horrible job that I'm paying for.
I did go out of my way to try to make Sarah completely knowledgeable of all the stuff that was going on at her property. Being that she was out of the town and 4 hours away, it was very difficult off and on to reach her. But I did do the work that was up to a certain point until I was told to stop. There was a butterfly that always kept flying around me while I was up and most of my workers, and when I told Sarah about it, she had mentioned that that was probably her father watching over the whole job.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. For more Judge Jerry, click here. For more Jerry Springer, click here.